after all the research I was doing on the Switch 2 and the rumors around that, I started thinking about Sony and Microsoft and the future of those platforms and also the future of Steam with the Steam Deck and all that. So, came up with some articles, came up with some data, and I noticed some interesting trends that I think explains a lot of what they're doing, or at least what I suspect they're doing. So, we're going to save that for the end, but let's just jump in with this article right here. The PlayStation 6 and Xbox Series X successor will launch in 2028, according to Microsoft. So this is a very Microsoft-centric article. It is definitely what Microsoft is planning, but the PlayStation and the Xbox have been releasing in lockstep for forever, and you can assume that Sony is planning to launch in 2028 if Xbox is planning to launch in 2028. So we can expect a PlayStation and an Xbox in a few years' time, and that's pretty much what this article underpins. Just wanted to kind of set that as the framework for when this is all going to go down and kind of the steps leading up to that and what we're seeing now being kind of the precursor to those next generation consoles. So let's just jump in right here with Xbox. This article is mainly around the next hardware and the mid-generation refresh, which is this trash can looking thing. But I wanted to talk about something a little further down in this article that was something that jumped out at me. Microsoft has clarified that it wants its games to be experienced across various devices, such as streaming sticks. Yet the court document leaks also revealed that Xbox was exploring options for a few different devices, from a one-hand controller, and most interesting of all, a handheld device, though whether it's a device focused more on cloud gaming akin to the Logitech G Cloud, or something more of a handheld gaming PC like the Steam Deck or the Asus ROG Ally, is not entirely clear. So what that says to me is that they're working on, first of all, something that is handheld, like a Switch or a Steam Deck or a streaming device, and also that they want to expand this out beyond Xbox, especially that streaming sticks concept. That kind of leads me to believe that they want to pursue streaming, that they want to get back into game streaming, kind of like Stadia, but not Stadia. So I don't know how they're going to make that work. I mean, Stadia was a colossal failure, but this might be more of a boiling the frog kind of thing, which actually leads me over to PlayStation, which is another company that's working on a streaming handheld device, and that is the PlayStation Portal. Now, the PlayStation Portal is designed to stream from your PlayStation 5. However, I don't think that's where they're going to end with this. I believe that this is kind of the start of them getting something into your living room that can stream from any source, as in not just your PlayStation, but maybe the PSN network streaming servers. So they might end up integrating this with some kind of a subscription service where you can stream games right to your handheld and you don't have to worry about even owning a PlayStation. You just need the handheld or maybe some kind of set-top box as well to integrate with the PSN whatever streaming plus mega package that you'd have to buy to do that. And what that would also do in both of these cases is eliminate the question of, well, we need to make money off of hardware sales, because now they're getting it from a subscription service. They're getting continual income from you from that subscription model, even though you bought a cheaper piece of hardware, but you're always going to be paying that monthly fee in order to continue playing games on it. So I think that might be where these two companies are headed. Designing an ecosystem around streaming to devices. And at least in Microsoft's case, they don't seem to care what that device is, or they're working on a streaming stick, which I don't think they are. I think they're probably focused on just getting this streamed to your Windows PC or your laptop, getting games streamed to, like they said, a streaming stick, like a Chromecast or whatever, and opening that ecosystem up to a wider audience, even though that wider audience is then going to have to pay some form of subscription. I think that that's the idea, is to get this into more households and not worry about hardware sales. And same with PlayStation. I think that that's the same move that they're going to make. They're probably going to do things very differently from each other. They always have. So it's going to be two takes on the same overall subscription model approach to gaming. But I think that's going to be it, is a subscription model for gaming on these two consoles, and diminishing the role of the actual console hardware in these two ecosystems. And you can see that a lot in the approach that they've been taking with their IPs, with all of these acquisitions that they've had, with all these IPs that are under the Microsoft or Sony umbrella. They started to make all these exclusives, and now they've reversed course entirely on that. And a lot of these exclusives are coming out for the other platform, or are already out for the other platform, because they realize that they're not making any money, and these studios are dying on the vine. Now, that's also because a lot of these games are poorly written and not well thought out and not respective of the intellectual property that they're based on. However, that's besides the point. I mean, that's not how executives think. They think, oh, well, the sales are down because we're doing it as an exclusive. The sales are down because not enough people have PlayStations in their living room. We need to expand it out. So, I mean, I think I think this is very much an executive approach to trying to expand the Xbox and PlayStation brand beyond the hardware. And that is very much in contrast with what Nintendo is doing, which is effectively iterating on their platform. They're getting better, at least RAM and storage, and presumably the graphics and processing. And they're also looking to maintain backwards compatibility, or at least if these rumors are actually truth, that's the plan that they're going with, is compatibility with the first gen Switches. In theory, even a third gen Switch would be compatible with Switch 2 and 1. And if they continue down that road, they're going to see massive success, because Nintendo is in a very distinct position. They have a lot of IPs that are very beloved, that they have protected very well over the years, and they can continue to capitalize on those IPs within their ecosystem for decades. As long as they keep on making winning consoles that can play those games, then they're golden. I mean, they could build an ecosystem to rival Valve at this point. Maybe not quite to rival Valve right away, but they could build an ecosystem that is on par with that kind of level of sales and interest. And, right now the Switch is one of the most popular consoles in existence. And certainly Nintendo can compete with Valve at that level and build their ecosystem out, especially since they have kind of opened up things as far as the development is concerned, and allowed indie developers to come in and other developers, and they haven't been as locked down as they have been in the past about getting things onto their console. So there's definitely an opening up of the Nintendo hardware and the Nintendo ecosystem that's going to be another further benefit to them. So yeah, they've got a very competitive front that is very different from this streaming approach that PlayStation and Xbox seem to be approaching with. And they're kind of more in line with Valve. And that's why I keep comparing them to Valve. And Steam is, a Steam Deck and a Nintendo Switch are basically two sides of the same coin. They're front ends for a very beloved ecosystem, and could be used to continue down that ecosystem and keep iterating on that system well into the future. So the Switch 2, the Steam Deck 2, the Steam Deck 3, the Switch 3, and so on and so forth. And if they continue with that backwards compatibility, which Valve's going to do, because it's the PC platform. I mean, that's kind of their shtick. And if Nintendo can kind of take a page from that book, I think you're going to see Valve and Nintendo being the big console pair, and maybe Xbox and PlayStation being more gaming ecosystems and not console manufacturers down the road. Now, there's a lot of speculation, and obviously it's very early in the speculation of these new consoles to be able to say for sure that that's the direction we're going to see things go in. However, like I said, I've got some receipts, and the receipts are based on hardware sales, and we're going to take a look at that right now. So I took a look at this Wikipedia article. Now, I know Wikipedia is not the greatest source of information out there, but these numbers do seem pretty accurate. So I kind of distilled it down to a chart of all the consoles we would recognize, we would understand, starting with the Atari 2600 and going all the way to the PlayStation 5. So you can see here, obviously NES, Genesis, SNES, and then you got PlayStation, which was the big winner, N64 not so much, and then PlayStation 2, which was the biggest winner. And then you've obviously got GameCube and Xbox as very, very low. sales, and then the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 kind of established the Xbox PlayStation dichotomy in full. And then that continued on, obviously, with the Wii completely crushing those two, but then continuing on with the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4. Again, that dichotomy was going, but cumulative sales between these two compared to the 360 and the PS3 is overall lower. And then if you continue on, obviously the Switch did even better than the Wii. Obviously Wii U was the exception. And then you've got, the XS and the PlayStation 5. So even further diminished from the previous generation. So each successive generation, they seem to cumulatively be selling less and less consoles down the road. So you can see why they would think, well, we're already selling less consoles. We're already not making money off of these exclusives because they're not available for the other console. Why don't we just open this right up and go streaming and do this and that and the other thing, and basically give themselves the best possible avenue to sell those subscription services, to sell those microtransactions, to sell those games without having to worry about the hardware, because the hardware is obviously diminishing. And respectively, I think it's because the games are crap. But I don't think they realize that. I don't think they realize that the hardware doesn't sell because there's no games, or there's no good games to play on the hardware. See, PlayStation 2 had a massive catalog and some very, very exemplary titles from launch that sold that console. In that past, these console manufacturers understood that games sell consoles, consoles don't sell games. Whereas I think the current generation of executives don't really make that association. So it could very well be that they go subscription and they screw themselves. And I think that's what would happen if they went full subscription. But, it's going to be interesting to find out. And another little side on this chart is you can see the Nintendo win-lose model in action here. So you got the NES. The SNES was not as good. The N64 was way not as good. But then you've got the GameCube, which was the worst. But then you start seeing that win-lose model take over, where we got the Wii, and then the Wii U was the failure. And then you've got the Switch. And so are we going to have a Switch failure, or is the Switch going to break that pattern and be even better than the Switch? Or the Switch 2 going to be even better than the Switch? That is the question I asked in the previous video. So we'll see. We'll see what Nintendo does, but they are definitely all over the place. I mean, they're the most random console manufacturer going, I think. So it'll be interesting to see what the Switch 2 does. It'll be interesting to see what these next generation consoles, PlayStation and Xbox, do. And also what Valve is up to. Because we don't know what Valve is going to do with the Steam Deck. We don't know what they're going to do with their whole ecosystem, because they have been known to work on some really interesting stuff and then just drop it out of nowhere. So it'll be interesting to find out. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys. Leave a like and let me know what you think about these kind of videos, because if you like these kind of deep dives, I'll continue doing them. If you don't like them, then I'll switch back over to some of the rumors and gaming news type stuff. But that's what I got for you guys. Hope you enjoyed the vid, and I will talk to you later.